It's useful in warfare to think about limited versus unlimited objectives. So if you look at Ukraine today, Putin has one of the most unlimited kinds of objectives from Ukraine. He not only wants to topple the Ukrainian government, but he wants to eliminate Ukrainian culture. And if you look up genocide in the dictionary, genocide can mean kill everybody, but it can also mean destroy their culture.
Yeah.
That also applies to genocide. So so Putin has a very unlimited objective. Kiev, on the other hand, does not have an unlimited objective. They want Russia to get out of Ukraine, right? Just get out of Ukrainian territory, stay in Russia. That's their objective. So the Ukrainians have a limited objective. Putin has an unlimited objective.
In World War One, I mean, maybe other than like the Austro-Hungarian Empire, there's like Germany doesn't have a unlimited objective with respect to France or Russia.
No, it doesn't.
But it still devolves into this, 10 million people die.
It doesn't, although the effect on Russia is to overthrow the government. In fact, it winds up overthrowing one government after another. I think as that war goes on and as you lose a lot of people, then you start thinking, then the objectives become more unlimited. Whereas like originally it was just get back into German territory. After a while, it's no, we want to overthrow your government for doing this.
One of the big dichotomies you talk about is the difference between limited and total objectives. How does Bismarck illustrate the value of having limited objectives?
Limited and unlimited objectives. Yeah, Bismarck does illustrate that. An unlimited objective is, the simplest way to look at it is regime change. So if I have an unlimited objective against you, I win the war, you're going to be out of power. And as versus I win the war and yeah, you lose a province, but you'll be in power. So what Bismarck does, he's very clever. Well, he's operating in an age of kings, and his achievements illustrates why you truly don't need royal families running the show. It's breathtakingly incompetent. So initially, he fights the Danish War. So that's way up north, and it's over these two provinces, and he wants to set his fingers on the scale of the more northerly province, because then that'll give him the rights to march troops, I think, through the more southerly one to cause up problems later. So war number one's the Danish War. No one thinks too much about it. Prussia gets an extra province as part of Denmark, was part of Denmark, no big deal. But then he fights the Austro-Prussian War, and then what he's after is there are all these little Germanic states. Austria had dominated a bunch of them. As a result of that war, he collects a whole bunch of these other states. And no one is really paying attention that he's actually upending the balance of power in Europe. They're just looking at it. It's limited. He's not toppling the Austrian government. He's not toppling the Danish government. And then he fights the Franco-Prussian War, where he takes Alsace-Lorraine, which are these provinces. If you look at it, it's like a salient into one country or the other. He takes that, and the French never forgive him, and that leads into World War I later. But by the time it's over, he's overthrown the balance of power in Europe. Prussia, which was the weakest of five great powers, suddenly has a central position, the Germanic states, and it owns the whole thing. And Britain and others who'd been asleep at the switch, like, ooh, because they could have weighed in on the scale at any point in these things to altered outcomes, and they didn't. There's a real reason why. And the people who are losing out here are they're all monarchies. There's a reason why you don't want to have people inherit offices. They don't tend to be very good at it.